Okay, let's get into this. We've got a really fascinating document here. It's inspired by those legends you hear about strange radio signals.
Yeah, those creepy stories from out in the middle of nowhere. This one's called The Last Broadcast of Radio Echo 97.4.
And it really takes this, like, ordinary local setting and makes it pretty unsettling.
It definitely does. It taps into that feeling of a familiar voice, a small-town station, and then just injects this deep mystery.
So our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack it, pull out the main story, the timeline.
The really weird bits, what happened afterwards, and, the theories people came up with, just trying to understand this whole strange tale.
Exactly. Think of this as your way to get the key info from this story, the essentials, without digging through it all yourself. So let's dive in.
Okay, so picture this. Early 2000s. We're deep in the Appalachian Hills, West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Misty, kind of remote.
Right, you could almost feel that sitting. And the station, Radio Echo 97.4 FM, sounds pretty run-of-the-mill.
Totally. Small, local. Played country music, gave the weather reports, late-night dedications. Nothing famous.
Just part of the background noise of the town.
Yeah. And the guy at the center of it, well, at least for the night it all went wrong, was the midnight DJ, Jerry Dunning.
Jerry Dunning, okay.
He was a Vietnam vet, the story says. His show, The Long Night. People apparently described his voice as, like, deep and calming.
Perfect for that late-night slot, right? Comforting.
Exactly. So you've got this whole picture. Quiet town, normal station, trusted voice, routine.
Until it wasn't routine anymore. The story points to one specific date, October 13th, 2004.
That's the pivot point.
Yeah.
Apparently a massive thunderstorm rolled in that night. Just brutal.
Lightning everywhere.
Yeah, knocking out power all through the valley, according to the document.
Okay, so logically, a small station like that powers out, or it goes off air.
It absolutely should have.
Mm.
But here's the first really weird thing the story notes. Radio Echo 97.4 stayed on.
Despite the power outage.
Mm-hmm. The signal was weak, apparently lots of static, but it was still broadcasting.
Wow, okay.
And then, right around 1:23 a.m., something critical happens.
That specific time again, and Jerry's voice comes through.
Yes, but it wasn't the calm DJ voice. The story makes a point that he sounded panicked, trembling, totally unlike him.
And what did he say? The document quotes it, right?
Yes, the exact words that have sort of become infamous. If anyone can hear me, something's in the building.
Oof. Chilling. Just hearing that. Knowing his usual style. What happened right after he said that?
The broadcast just cut out. Silence.
Okay, maybe equipment failure finally.
You'd think, but then, laughter. And the story specifically says it was not Jerry's laugh.
Not his.
Around the world.
That's deeply creepy. Then what? More sounds?
Yeah. Distorted whispering, apparently. And this sound described as like scratching on metal.
Just imagine hearing that break through the static on your radio. In a storm.
Right. It's a horrible audio picture.
Hmm.
And the story says someone actually did hear it.
Yeah, there was a witness.
A trucker. Name was Lou. Driving through the area, he apparently called the sheriff.
What did he tell them?
He reported hearing, and this is a direct quote from the document about his call, a man crying and something growling over the radio.
Crying and growling. Okay, that adds a whole other dimension. So the police got involved.
Right. They showed up at the station maybe 30 minutes later.
And what did they find? This must be key to the mystery.
It really is.
Yeah.
Jerry was gone, just vanished. No sign of struggle mentioned, nothing.
But the scene itself.
Eerie. His chair was apparently still spinning slightly, coffee cup still warm, like he just stepped away.
But he hadn't just stepped away.
No. And the recording gear was fried. Maybe the lightning, maybe something else. But the weirdest detail.
What?
The microphone, the one he just spoke into, it was still live, still broadcasting silence or whatever was there.
Wait, how? If the main equipment was fried, how is the mic still active?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It defies the technical logic described. It suggests something else was keeping that channel open.
So what happened right after? Did the station just stay dead?
It went dark for a few days, yeah, which makes sense. But then, the story says things got weird again on October 31st.
Halloween night, of course it was.
Couldn't make it up, right? Radio Echo 97.4 just reappeared back on the air.
With a new DJ? Or music?
Nope. No DJs, no music, just a loop, a repeating broadcast.
A loop of what?
It always started, the story says, precisely at 1:23 a.m.
The exact time Jerry made the call.
Exactly. And the loop was his voice. That last message. If anyone can hear me, Something's in the building.
Just that, over and over.
Not just that. After his words, there were screams. And again, the story's very clear. These screams were not Jerry's.
Oh, man. So his last words, followed by unidentified screaming. Looping. On Halloween. That's nightmare fuel.
Absolutely. And the story even mentions effects this had on people who tuned in.
Like what? Just being creeped out?
More than that, apparently.
Yes.
It mentions reports of nosebleeds. Really bad nightmare.
Actual physical effects.
Yeah, and it even tentatively links, a few car accidents around that time to drivers who might have been listening.
Yeah.
Suggests it was more than just sound.
Wow. Okay, so they couldn't let that continue. The station eventually got shut down properly.
Yeah, by Thanksgiving of that year, the story says the authorities stepped in for good, took down the antenna, locked the building up tight. End of story, Rath.
You'd think. But this is based on legend, so I'm guessing no.
Exactly. This is where it really shifts into full-blown legend territory. People claim they still pick up the signal sometimes.
Still? After all this time, antenna gone, building locked.
That's the claim. Not all the time, but especially the story notes during storms.
Who hears it?
Truckers, hikers mainly,
Yeah.
people out in those remote hills near the old station site. They tune into 97.4 FM, maybe out of curiosity, maybe by accident.
And they hear.
The same loop, mostly.
Yeah.
Jerry's voice, 1.23 AM. The screams,
Just the same recording.
usually. But the story adds one more chilling detail. Sometimes there's something new mixed in.
New? Like what?
A woman's voice, whispering, in the background, under the main loop.
And what does she whisper?
The words quoted are, "He's still here, underneath, waiting."
Underneath. Waiting. Okay, that line underneath seems to point toward some of the explanations people have floated, right?
It ties in directly. The document lays out a few main theories that have cropped up around this.
What's the first one, the sort of paranormal angle?
Yeah, that's popular with enthusiasts. They suggest that Jerry, broadcasting during that intense electrical storm, maybe he accidentally did something.
Like what?
Like the transmission itself, amplified by the storm, acted like some kind of beacon. Opened a doorway, maybe. Attracted something. Not from around here.
Something not human drawn by the radio waves? That's a terrifying idea.
It really is. Then there's another theory, kind of related to that whisper.
The underneath part.
Exactly. Some people think maybe Jerry found something near the station. Or maybe in the basement while renovating. Something old.
Like what? An old grave site.
Maybe an old native burial ground, the story suggests.
Yeah.
And disturbing it, woke something up. Released something that was dormant beneath the station.
Okay, so either something came in from elsewhere or something came up from below. What about the non-supernatural takes?
Well, there's always the straightforward explanation.
Mm.
It was all a hoax.
A prank. Or maybe Jerry staged his own disappearance.
That's the skeptical view, that it was somehow faked.
Yeah.
An elaborate broadcast stunt, maybe.
But the story pushes back on that, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
With one very simple, very powerful point. If it was a hoax, where's Jerry Dunning?
Right. Nobody ever found him, nobody turned up, no trail, nothing.
Vanished completely. Which makes the simple hoax theory. Well, it leaves a huge hole.
A big unexplained gap. So fast forward to now, what's the status?
The building itself, according to the document, is still there. Just derelict, overgrown, windows probably broken, roof sagging, left to rot.
And the frequency, 97.4 FM.
It's listed as federally unused, like officially silent. Almost like the authorities just don't want anyone broadcasting there ever again.
But the story doesn't quite end there, does it? It mentions activity every year.
Yeah, every October, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Around Halloween, you get radio hobbyists, paranormal investigators, maybe just thrill seekers.
They go out there.
They go to the area, yeah, with their radios, scanners, twisting the dial to 97.4, listening, hoping.
Or maybe hoping not to hear something. And does anyone?
The story suggests that, yes, every few years, someone claims they do. They catch it again.
The same thing.
That faint signal. Jerry's voice, the static, the scream, still echoing out there.
Wow. It's just really unsettling, isn't it? The idea of a voice, a moment of pure terror just refusing to fade away, like sound itself can get trapped.
It makes you think, doesn't it, about what signals leave behind. Can an event like imprint itself on the airwaves?
And that really brings us to the end of our deep dive into this specific story. The document itself kind of leaves you with this final, pretty chilling thought, doesn't it?
It does. It sort of turns it back on you, the listener. Does the potential risk in your hands.
Right. It basically says, look, if you're ever driving out there, deep in those Appalachian woods,
Especially on a stormy night.
maybe, just maybe, you turn your radio dial to 97.4 FM.
But then comes the warning. A very stark one.
Yeah. If you hear him, If you hear Jerry's
Will
voice,
not respond.
don't answer back, don't engage. Because, as the story suggests, some voices are maybe meant to stay lost.
A really powerful and kind of terrifying final image to leave us with makes you think twice about tuning that dial.
If anyone